A little bit about ourselves for those who are joining us for the first time, whether live or by watching the recording. We are Lifetime Success Seminars. My name is Charles Stephen. I'm a co-host of Lifetime Success Seminars, and we run our programs via Zoom every other Saturday. And we raise conversations to our communities about matters of personal development, so anything to do with lifestyle, health, fitness, business, finance, relationships, you name it, mental health, physical fitness, family, all those areas, any area of personal development, we raise conversations on those and engage our community in those conversations. And yeah, and we do not work in isolation. We work in partnership with other agencies, statutory bodies and private, and we work very close collaboration with Tulivu Women's Group and ECHA. And some of those guys tend to join our meetings, and we have some of them in here this afternoon. And so in a nutshell, that's who we are, and this is what we do. And the topic of our conversation, like I said before today, is the power of repetition. And this is like the second installment of this conversation, because we started it 2 weeks ago. And don't worry if you were not you're not here 2 weeks ago. You can always get a link to our videos, because they're always recorded, and we always have them uploaded in our YouTube channel. So yeah, I always send a link to that. But again, today I'll try and go through what we covered last time really quickly, so at least we have a bit of continuity to the conversation that we had and that we will continue to have today. Okay. So where were we? Power of repetition. Allow me to share my presentation from last time, and then we'll continue from where we left off. But I'll kind of rush through what we were doing. It's not very long, so bear with me. I'll go through it all till the point that we ended. We're going to have a bit of a conversation, and then we'll continue from there on. Are we good with that? Okay, give me a thumbs up if you're with me. Yeah. We're together. Brilliant. Awesome. Let's get to it. Share screen. Power of repetition. Can you all see that? Give me a thumbs up if you can see it. Yep. Okay, good. Now, power of repetition. First thing we said is what I just said a few minutes ago, that success is habitual. So many times we try. Have you ever heard of this statement that you're trying too hard, or don't work hard, work smart? Those kind of statements. Eventually, it comes down to habits. Why am I saying that? Sometimes we are so busy and we are working so hard and we're really trying hard and we are honestly trying to really make a difference by really doing things. And we don't quite get the results we want. If you ask me that question and say, why are people getting mixed results, though they might be working just as hard as everybody else? I would probably point to this point as the number one reason why. That success is habitual. But I also add, I say success is habitual, and so is failure. And failure is also habitual as well. Now, I think the problem is we work so hard, but whatever it is that we do is not targeted to changing our habits. So what ends up happening is we end up doing a lot of things, a lot of different things, so haphazardly and so differently, to a point that it's almost like we're confusing our own bodies. We are almost like confusing our own subconscious mind, and we don't quite end up becoming the change that we want to see in our lives, if that makes sense. Let me give you an example. Say you're trying to achieve, you're trying to lose weight. Well, let me use that as an example first. You're trying to lose weight. And you know that for you to be able to do that, maybe you need to eat well, probably cut down on what you eat, okay? And maybe you also need to exercise. So you say maybe you need to do a run. But then what some people might do, which may be very ineffective, is they do a little bit of running occasionally. They also occasionally go to the gym when their friends are also going. They also kind of occasionally, some days they might try and reduce what they eat only to kind of binge the following day. And they kind of try and do all these different things. When they look at it, every single thing that they are actually doing, it is proven that can lead to you losing weight. If you cut down on your diet, you can lose weight. If you go out running, you can lose weight. If you go and work out at the gym, you can lose weight. But rather than focusing on one thing and doing it consistently to a point that they become that, it becomes their habit. I actually put it this way last time. I said, unless you go out for a run so often to a point where you regard yourself a runner. When I say you regard yourself a runner, it means that you wake up in the morning. If you don't go out for a run, you actually feel sick. You actually feel like you're not well, because you identify yourself as a runner, because it's something you've been doing for so long, to a point that you don't recognize yourself if you wake up in the morning and go to work without going for a run. You get what I'm saying? It has become habitual. It's become part of who you are, part of what you do. So unless you become that, running will always be a chore to you. It will always be hard work to you. And chances are the results that you get from it will also be mediocre, because you won't do it consistently, you won't do it well enough, and you won't see the results. So I said that the reason we end up with mixed results is because we don't focus or hone in enough on our habits, on actually aiming to change our habits, to become the change that we want to be, to a point that we end up doing the things we want to do almost out of, subconsciously, without even thinking of it. You do it because that's who you are. I mean, it's the same like brushing your teeth. That's why we teach our kids from very early age to learn to brush their teeth, because it gets to a point like now, at this age, when I wake up in the morning, I don't think whether I should brush my teeth or not, do I? You don't. Even if you wake up very late, say you're supposed to be in a meeting at 8, right? And you said I should be waking up at 7 to get ready and ready for the meeting. And for some reason you didn't hear your alarm, and bang, at 7:45 you wake up. You're very late, but you never think in your mind like, oh, since I'm so late, I only have 15 minutes, I'm not going to brush my teeth. You don't even think. You're like, oh, I'm late. Oh, I'm very late. Oh, I'm very late. You get what I'm saying? Why? Because brushing teeth has become part of you, part of what you do. You don't even have to think about it. The health benefit is there, but you're not even thinking of the health benefit of it when you're doing it. You're just doing it because that's what you do. But it is a fantastic thing to do, because it is extremely important for the health of the teeth. So that is how it should be the same for everything else you do in your life. That you hone in on your habits and you make sure you do something to a point, it becomes who you are. And that's what successful people do. They actually create these habits, these, I call them success habits, winning habits, that it becomes part of who they are. So to them, they don't even break a sweat to do something that is outstanding, in whether it is in business terms or in academic terms or in sports terms, because that has become their habit. That's who they are. It's what they do on a daily basis. And they do that because of the power of repetition. Okay. So humans are creatures of habit. I've talked about that. 90% of what we do is what we always do. Like I said, 90% of the things you do, if you watch through your day, are the things you don't even think about. You just go on doing them. Okay. And it's all subconscious. So that's what you're trying to target, to make sure that you do these good things, these success habits, without even thinking about it. Okay. 10% is from conscious effort. Another thing we talked about rhythm. That it's very important to get rhythm. And if you look around in the universe, everything is rhythmic. The whole universe, the whole of nature, survives, thrives even on rhythm. Okay. You look at the weather, the seasons. Okay, you've got spring, summer, autumn, winter. It's always like that, consistently that way, every year since time began. Okay, I mean, some years you might get really good summers, some years you might get really severe winters, some years you might get some horrible springs, but you will get a spring. You get what I'm saying? It will always come every year around the same time. It will never come a year where you have spring followed by winter. You go like, oh, we just had winter and it's come back straight after spring. It will never happen. You will always have summer after spring and you'll always have winter after autumn. Why? Because of that rhythm. Everything in the universe, everything in nature operates at its best when there is rhythm built into it. And we are not different. We are exactly the same. We operate on rhythm. Once we get our rhythm, things start to work in our favor. Right, okay. Bear with me 1 second. Brilliant. All right. So what is rhythm? A regularly recurring sequence of events or processes. That's what rhythm is. Things are happening regularly and in a sequence, like seasons, like I said before. Okay. So all nature systems operate rhythmically. Seasons, for instance, day and night. Animal migration. Another good one. Heartbeats. Our heartbeat. It has a rhythm to it. And if you start skipping the beats, if you start having an irregular rhythm, there is a condition called AF, atrial fibrillation, which basically you have an irregular heartbeat. And it's a horrible condition because basically you end up with hypoxia everywhere in the body because your blood, your heart becomes so dysfunctional, so ineffective in getting the blood through your body. Not because it's not pumping, it is pumping and it is working really hard. But all that has happened is that it's lost the rhythm. It's kind of pumping haphazardly. And as a result, you don't have enough blood supply. You may argue, oh, but it's still pumping. Yes, but it hasn't got a rhythm. So rhythm is very important. Doing something consistently, predictably, at the right time, all the time. It allows you to be one with yourself. It allows you to really internalize, that's the word, to internalize your actions and your habits, and they become almost like natural. You don't have to think of it because it becomes who you are. Okay, so rhythm is really important. And every time you think of starting a new habit, starting a new hobby, starting a new career, starting anything, think of rhythm. Think of habits, think of rhythm. How can I maintain this habit? How can I maintain a rhythm? How can I make sure that this thing is ingrained in me? And this is what I do on a daily basis. When there is something that you've been doing and you find yourself that it's very ineffective, whatever that may be, and you've been trying so hard so long, this is the first place that you should go to. Focus whether your habits have really changed, whether there are bad habits that are actually hampering your success in that area, and also check whether you have a rhythm in the way you do that thing. Is it haphazard? Do you do it randomly, or do you have a rhythm? Okay, so rhythm is extremely important. Okay. I've already said this, we perform at our best when we get the rhythm. Okay. So, like I pointed out before, repetition forms habits. Okay. So, and I'll just put it out there. It's not talent that matters. It's what separates world class from average. It's not talent. It's repetition. If you do something consistently for long enough, you become you master it. You become a master of it. You know what I mean? So it might take some people longer than others to master it, but eventually you will if you just keep at it and maintain that repetition. And yeah, and that's the difference. The difference between successful people is that they stick to it. They are stuck to something. If they start doing something, they keep on doing it. Someone will keep doing the same thing for 30 years. And you wonder why they become so successful at it. Because they have maintained that thing and they kept going and kept going and kept going and kept going and never stopped. And as a result, they see results at the end. Okay. Do not, like I said before, do not focus on stopping bad habits, but focus on actually replacing it with good habits. I've spoken about that before. So a new habit takes about 18 to 254 days to form. See, there is a huge margin there. Sometimes for others, it may be easier to create new habits. Others, it may take a little bit longer. The average is about 66 days. Okay. And then we went on to talk about plastic versus elastic change. Now, this is a physics concept of elasticity. When you're stretching a rubber band, for instance, an elastic band, it stretches, and when you release it, it comes right back to its original shape, isn't it? Now, us humans, we're very much like that. We tend to snap back to status quo. We tend to snap back to our old habits whenever we are stretched to areas that we're not used to. You know, we always revert back to the comfort zone, if you like. So we have these sort of like elastic characteristics, if you like, that if you try and if say you're not you don't work out, you don't exercise at all, and you say like, I want to start exercising. When you start, you might go out for a run the first day. Probably you might go for a run for the whole first week. You might even go for a run for the whole of the first month. But chances are, if you take your eyes off the ball for a second, you will snap right back to who you were originally. Why? Because of that elastic behavior. You always return to your original shape, back to your old habits. What you remember I said that 90% of what we do is what we always do. That's what you will revert back to. Okay, that's the elastic behavior. Now you may ask, so what is plastic change? Plastic change is when the change is permanent. Sometimes even with elastic bands, we see that even with elastic bands. Most elastic bands, when you stretch them, they can always go back. But if you stretch them a little too much, before it snaps, of course, not all the way. You know, eventually, if you stretch it too much, it will snap. But if you keep on stretching it, okay, or stretch it too much, it gets to a point where when you release it, it might come back, but it might not return to its original length. Okay. And I gave an example of you know, sometimes even with our clothes. Okay, sometimes you especially like say jogging bottoms, for instance, and things like that, and tracksuits and things like that, which have like some kind of an elastic band on the waist. And after so long of wearing them, you know, with wear and tear, because you keep stretching them and relaxing them, stretching and relaxing them, that band kind of loses its elasticity, isn't it? And it starts getting, you know, wiggly on your waist, and you think, if I lost weight, but actually no, it's the elastic band that is gone. Now that is called plastic change, because now due to that stretch, the deformity has become permanent. Okay, so though the thing kind of returns a little bit, but it doesn't quite return to its original size. Okay. Now, when we talk about habits, when we talk about power of repetition, when we talk about rhythm, what we're aiming for plastic change. What we're aiming is that whatever it is that you're trying to change in your life, you need to do it long enough, rhythmically enough, repetitively enough, to a point where the change becomes permanent, the deformity becomes permanent. It becomes the new you. Okay, elastic band, it was this long. You stretch it there, it comes back to exactly the same height, same length. You stretch it so many times, it gets to a point, eventually it returns to this length. It has increased the length. Now this becomes the new norm. Okay, so that's the same thing with us. When we're trying to achieve a change, we need to aim for that, to do something long enough to a point where it becomes the new us. Emeka, you had something you wanted to say.
Yeah.
Why don't you come in?
Yeah. Sorry. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, very faintly though.
Hello.
Yep, go on.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, still faint, but we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. In relation to this elastic versus plastic change, in terms of trying to get the new you, an exam. I'm just relating to what is relating to what I'm doing, because at the moment I work out. I go to the gym like 3 to 4 days in a week.
Mm.
It's something I've been doing since last year.
Okay.
But in between last year, in between going to the gym 3 to 4 days in a week, I used to go jogging.
Mm.
But for some weird reason, I don't know what it is. Lately, I guess it's the fact that I work out during the week a lot, 3 to 4 days in a week. During the weekend, it's quite tough.
Mm.
On Saturdays to go to the gym. I mean, to go running, to go jogging.
Mm.
And plus again, because of the job I do, support work, should
Mm.
I be worried or something? Because the gym thing I can't get out of my head, but the jogging thing, it's hard because of the intense workout I do during the week, 3 to 4 days in a week.
Right. All I can say is it depends on what you want. It depends on what you want. And when you're trying to create a routine or a habit, do you remember when I was talking about rhythm? Okay.
Yes, rhythm. Yes.
It can even be once a week. You know, it doesn't. People think, you know, when you're creating a habit, when you're talking of power repetition, it has to be something that you do every day. It doesn't have to be.
Okay. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be. But it has to be consistently and rhythmically. So if you said that I will be going out for a jog once a week, every week, it will still work. Okay. So it may take longer to work. You remember when I said it takes from 18 days to 254 days to create a new habit, isn't it? It may take a bit longer because you're not doing as many times, but eventually it will work. And that's what you should focus on. So if you really want to add running or jogging in the mix of what you do for towards your health, then you don't have to worry too much about I can't do running 5 days a week because I've already got this other thing I'm doing, on the weekend I'm doing some work. But if you can find one day and make sure that you do it consistently, I can guarantee you, if you do that for a year, or close to the 254 days that we saw there, eventually it will become who you are. And what do I mean by that? I mean, it becomes, yes, there may come weeks that you won't be able to run because something interferes, because life, there is always interference, isn't it? There are always things that try to knock us off our zone.
I know.
I mean, even with bad habits, even bad habits get disrupted as well at times. You know what I mean? Someone who was a thief, that can get interrupted. He may get arrested and sent to jail. He doesn't get an opportunity to steal for a year because he's in prison. But as soon as he comes out of prison, he goes back to his old life and he starts stealing again. So what I'm saying is that yes, you might get interrupted here, there, and everywhere, but as long as it has become you, it has become that's what you do, then you will always go back to it. As soon as circumstances revert to normal, you'll always go back to running. Why? Because that has become your new norm. And that's the plastic change I'm talking about. When you become the person, when that becomes part of your self-image, if you like, you know what I mean? That I'm a runner. That's what I do. I always run. Even when someone asks you, why do you run? You may even struggle to find a reason. Why is it that I'm running anyway? Because you're not really thinking of why you're doing it. You're doing it because it's become that's what you do. Okay. So yeah, as a short answer, no, you don't worry about it. As long as you're doing it consistently and rhythmically, it should be fine.
Because the last time I ran was last year, but the gym thing, I can't seem to shake it off me because I go like 3 to 4 days in a week.
You see, so I would say that the gym thing has become a plastic change for you. That's become part of you. It's who you are.
Because if I don't,
the running hasn't.
Because if I don't work out, I'll go nuts. For me, in my head, I'll go nuts.
That's what I was talking about. Exactly. So because that's you. So if you wanted to make the running like the gym, like something that is really part of you, then you need to focus on the habit. You need to focus on repetition, and you need to focus on the rhythm, even if that's once a week. Okay.
I'll try. Thank you very much.
We are good. Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
Now let's crack on. So conclusion to that is what? Real change happens when habits change, not just actions. So many times we think when our actions change, then we have changed. You know what I mean? I've started running. I think, the change is happening. No, change is not really happening unless your habits have changed. Because if your habits don't change, you will always snap back to your original size. You'll always come back. You'll always obey the elastic rule. So real change happens when your habits have actually changed. Okay. Awesome. Now basically that's where we ended in our last conversation last week. And before we go to the next part of the talk, let me hear it from you guys. Grace, Rennie, if you can talk, what do you guys think? Do you want to add something to what I've said? What are your thoughts? Yes, Grace.
Yeah, what you said makes a lot of sense. Many a times we try to undo what we are doing wrong, and it becomes a chore, or you become frustrated rather than, doing what you want to achieve. Rather on doing, the wrongs you've been doing all the time, So, put the good you want to do there, rather than try to undo whatever the wrongs that you've been doing.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Focusing on developing new winning habits, than the old ones that are yeah. So it's all about replacement, isn't it?
Yes.
There is a fantastic verse in the Bible which talks about and I think it was actually Jesus giving this example. And I'll paraphrase it. It's talking about you're casting out a demon from someone, and the demon leaves that person, and goes away, but then that person's heart remains vacant. And what that demon does is that he keeps roaming around looking back to his old home, and when he finds it empty, he doesn't just occupy it. He actually goes away, finds 7 more demons much stronger than he is.
That's right.
And they come back to that person, and the scripture says that the state of that person at the end is worse than from the beginning. It's exactly the same with habits. Sometimes people try so hard to stop bad habits, but they don't end up replacing them with good habits. So they leave this huge hole, this huge vacancy in their time, in their mind, in their lifestyle. There is this huge hole, and as a result, chances are the bad habit will return 7-fold. And how many times have you had someone trying to quit smoking, right? And then they are successful for a couple of weeks, and then or a couple of months, but then they only to get right back to it even worse. They were smoking 5 cigarettes a day, and now they're doing the whole pack. You know what I mean? Or drinking, the same thing, or any other bad habit for that matter. So the best way to overcome that is to make sure, rather than focusing on stopping a bad habit, is to replace it with a good one. Because once you replace it, there is no room for a bad habit. Eventually, you only have 24 hours. You know what I mean? If your 24 hours are all occupied by fantastic, positive, successful habits, there is no room for bad habits. You know what I mean? So, that's a really good point, Chris. Well done. What? Anybody else? Any other thoughts before we continue? Anyway, while you guys are thinking about it, let me pose the question I posed to the group last time, which is what we'll be talking about in our next slide. Is repetition boring? Do you find repetition boring? Maybe let me phrase the question that way. Do you find the repetition boring?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. You get fed up.
Yeah. Do you want to elaborate a bit more on that, Chris? So maybe give an example how that becomes so.
Oh, just like eating the same food all the time. You want a change, you want a variety, or you want something else. Yeah, I think so. It's boring.
Okay. I hear you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Emeka? Do you want to say something? Do I see you raising your hand there?
Yeah. Sorry, I wasn't raising my hand, but thanks you for calling me.
Oh, sorry.
Well,
I thought you were raising your hand.
I want to say something. I would say to a certain degree, though, that I agree with what Grace is saying.
Yeah.
Repetition can be boring, though, especially what I've learned recently, a couple of years back. That in terms of you have to try different things in order to integrate. And like for instance, like it's just I guess I guess on some level it's the fear of the unknown or trying something different. That what if I don't enjoy it? And like apart from that, also again, like working out, for instance, when I'm at the gym, I try to, rather than, apart from using different equipments, weights and all that, I try to, like, I don't know how to put it, I try to like make it much more exciting by trying other things also in the gym. I could see somebody doing, like a friend of mine doing an exercise, someone I know, I say, hey man, can you teach me that? What does that, what part of the body does that one work? He will tell me it's the shoulders or arms or anything, back or anything. So I can try that, something different. So I'll say, okay, this one sounds good. Like for instance, was it a few days back on a Tuesday, a friend of mine, I saw how ripped he was. I said, what's the secret in getting a flat stomach and everything? He showed me some tricks. Yeah, he showed me some tricks. He showed me some stuff. I said, okay, I'll practice this whenever. In trying some things different. Yeah.
Okay. All right. All right. What about you, Rennie? Can you talk?
Yeah, I can. I wanted to chip in.
Yeah, go for it.
I'd like to disagree because repetition is not what's it? Repetition is not boring, because if I gave you sort of like an assignment and told you I want you to do like everything you do, like just take note of how when you wake up, what you do when you go to work, and then come back home and do all of these things, you will realize there's a lot of repetitions that you have in the morning. Like it's like people say, like the morning rituals. Every time you wake up, maybe you go to the toilet. I think most of the things we do in repetition are done in a subconscious way. Where it gets boring is when you're trying to acquire new habits and you're always trying to remind yourself. But most of us, it's sort of the same. It's like autistic. We have autistic tendencies, whereby we keep on doing the same things unknowingly. It's the same thing like if you left work and you go home, you at some point you would not recollect the journey. You would just remember I left work and I'm home already. Why? Because you're so much used to doing it. It's a repetition. You're so much doing it that you go unnoticed. So it's not boring. It's just that something we don't it's something that we don't, how do I put it? It's something that we that we do naturally. Like
yeah.
If that makes sense. Yes.
Okay. Let me also come in. You guys have come up with fantastic insights, and I hear both sides of the argument, if you like, if at all, I can call it that, in a sense that yes, in some certain viewpoint, repetition can be seen to be boring, and it is for many people, and in so many different cases. So can repetition be boring? In some cases, I can say yes, it can be boring, but is it boring because it is repetition? No, it is boring because of something else, which I'm going to come to in a minute. But before I come to that, in order to shed a bit of light in where I'm going with this line of thought, I'll pose another question. Maybe I should ask, who should I ask? Grace. What is the most satisfying thing that you normally do in any given week? What is one thing that you always look forward in a week? Think of one thing. It doesn't have to be the most satisfying, but something that comes to you in mind really quickly. Something that you really enjoy doing, that you always look forward in a week to do. What is it?
Cooking.
What would that be?
Cooking.
Cooking.
Yeah.
You love cooking.
I can stay in the kitchen the whole day.
Wow.
I love it.
That invitation has to come. That invitation has to come sooner, Grace. I need to come and taste your cooking.
Yeah, I don't mind. I can stand here and cook the whole day. I don't care. But ask me to go and do something else, and it becomes a chore. So
to you, cooking is not a chore at all.
I love it.
All right,
I can stand there and do whatever. I don't care. But ask me to do something else, and then perhaps I'll do anything and come and sit down.
Okay, let me ask you a follow-on question on that. Why do you enjoy cooking so much?
Well, perhaps, I've done it all the time and I've loved it, and I cook variety and I love eating.
Wow, that's good. That's a good reason to love cooking. Final question. How often do you cook?
Oh, I do batch cook. So like yesterday, I did a lot of cooking and put them in the freezer and whatever. So at least once a week, I do, my cooking. Yeah.
Brilliant. So you cook once a week, every week, and you can stay in the kitchen for the whole day and you don't get bored and you love it. But you would admit that that is repetition right there. It's something that you do every week, and probably you even have a routine of how you actually cook. I mean, you might be cooking different things, but you have this ritual how you do it while you're in the kitchen.
That's right.
But you don't find it boring.
No.
That's where I'm going with this. When Emeka, did you put your hand up again? Or is,
Yeah. I just wanted to add something, but it's okay.
Yeah, go on. Before
No,
I go
it's
too
okay.
far.
You finish with Grace. I don't want to feel like I'm dominating the conversation. You finish up with Grace.
You're not dominating the conversation, man. Don't worry about it. But okay, let me finish this point and then I'll come back to you.
Okay, yeah.
Emeka.
Okay.
The point I'm trying to make here is that repetition
Mhm.
is not boring. What makes repetition boring or not is the outcome of repetition.
Yes.
What do I mean by that? If the results of what you're doing are not fulfilling, now that's the key word. If the results of what you're doing are not fulfilling, then repetition will be boring.
Yes.
Okay. If someone comes to you and says, I find my work boring, my job boring, it's because his output, what the results he's getting from work. And that could be either in terms of performance, that could be in terms of whether he feels whether that like he's making a difference, that could be in terms of profitability, of if it's his own business, that could be the feedback he gets from his colleagues and maybe his superiors. It could be anything. But if the results are not fulfilling, okay, then whatever it is that he does becomes boring.
Yeah.
Okay. And because you're kind of feeling like I'm doing all this, but I'm not seeing any results. Okay. So you kind of feel like, oh, I want something different. Okay. If you're getting fulfilling results, you don't want to change. I'll tell you, there is this saying in English, say you don't want to reinvent the wheel. They say don't change what isn't broken, isn't it? You know what I mean? Which is the same thing. That if you've got this habit and it's a successful habit and you're repeating, you're doing this thing and you're getting the results you want and it's fulfilling to you, it's not boring. You just want to keep going. In fact, when it changes, you feel like, no, I don't want it to change. I want it to keep going. It's not boring. Why? Because the results are fulfilling. So the key thing here, what I'm trying to point out to you, is that always create habits which aim to bring fulfilling results at the end. If somehow you're not getting fulfillment at the end of what you're doing, it will get boring and chances are you'll stop. This is why you hear a lot of personal development coaches, they talk about the why. Whenever they try to create a new habit, whenever they try to create a new discipline, whenever they try to teach you a new skill, before they start teaching you the skill itself and what you need to do and the steps and everything, they want to drill in the why. Why do you want this so much? What's in it for you? Because once that is very clear, once you know exactly why you're doing that and what you will get out of it, which is what will determine whether you get fulfillment at the end of it or not. Okay. Once you're very clear about that, and that is aligned with your values and your dreams, okay, then the question of boring goes out the window. And why does it goes out the window? Because you are getting the fulfillment, you're getting the results, you see yourself getting to the destination that you're trying to go. Okay. Another way of putting it is like this: if always, do you remember in the conversation a couple of weeks back when we were talking about the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, and the daily goals? Okay, and we said that it has to start with that big, hairy, audacious goal, that long-term goal, where you really want to go, your dreams, your vision, so to speak. It has to start with that, and then everything else, all these strategic goals, have to kind of fit into that big vision, that big goal. Okay, why? Because that's how you get fulfillment. When you wake up in the morning and you do these things, okay, repetitively, you've got this routine of you doing something, and you come at the end of the day feeling like you've taken a step towards your big goal, your big vision. The step might have been so small, but you feel like you're taking a step in that direction. What you get that fulfillment, you get that vibe that I'm doing something good. And that becomes the drive for you to keep doing it. So repetition is not boring in that case because you feel like you're achieving something worthwhile. Okay. So fulfillment is the key here. And it is the difference between someone who says, I'm feeling bored in repetition, and someone who says, you know what, bring it on again. I want to go again. I want to do it again. Okay. And if you look at successful people, they become very successful, not because they tried too many things. I mean, there is this notion that, you need to try different things and keep trying different things. Trust me, If you keep trying different things all your life, you'll be mediocre all your life. Yes, you have to try different things. Absolutely, I agree. But once you get something that you're good at, once you get something that you can get results out of, you have to stick to it and do it consistently and repetitively and rhythmically for long enough in order to get the results you want. Okay?
Yeah.
And as long as that is aligned with your vision, it will bring fulfillment. And if it brings fulfillment, then you're not going to have to worry about boring, because it will never be boring. Okay? Emeka, you had something to say. Come on in.
Yeah, in relation to repetition and fulfillment. For me particularly, hearing Gracie's hearing what Gracie enjoys doing in terms of her cooking, it relates to me in terms of my writing.
Yeah.
At a point, I used to write almost every day of the week. At a point, but it's just that because of my work and other things I'm doing, like the volunteer work I do with ACA, leading a project, and also again the support work I do as a bank worker in a mental hospital. I had cut down my writing to once every week.
Yeah.
There isn't a week that doesn't go by that I have to write something. What makes me so happy is when I get inspiration. I can't seem to shake it off me. It could be anything, because I like reading novels. I read novels a lot. I enjoy reading newspapers or anything. And whatever I read, or it could be anything that really triggers my head, like a conversation or anything, that I just quickly go and write. I just quickly go and write what I'm feeling. Because I carry my notepad with me all the time. And I just quickly go and write. For instance, one thing that really stuck with me that a friend of mine liked what I wrote down was on Valentine's Day. I don't know if I can read what I wrote on Valentine's Day.
Now, if you have it, why not?
Yeah, I have it, yeah. Sorry, bear with me.
Take your time, brother.
Yeah, on Valentine's Day. Sorry, before I start off with this inspiration came the day before when I went to go and visit a friend of mine in London. One of my good friends I knew from London. Sorry, one of my good friends I knew from university. The inspiration came when I went to go and visit it. We went to go and get something from the store. So I stayed in the car. So I was just like listening to music. Sadly, I didn't have my notepad with me. I don't know what it was. There was something that just made me think of heartstrings. And then that's what inspired me to write something down. And here's what came up in my head. Like I said before, I didn't have my notepad, but I had my phone. My phone had a notepad on it. So I secretly wrote down, so I just quickly scribbled down on it. The heartstrings play beautifully when a special rhythm is found due to an exotic tone that moves within the deeper layer of the soul. It flows naturally without a beat being missed at all, which signifies the warmth of its intensity felt. So I just saw like how we feel with our hearts as an instrument. Something that inspires us, that it could play like a guitar or something that makes you connect one way or the other with human nature. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
It was just something deep.
Exactly. So in connection to what we're talking about today, do you find writing boring?
No,
it sounds like a very daft question to ask you. But
yeah. No.
Writing boring.
I love writing. I enjoy writing.
Yes.
So you don't find it boring?
I don't find it, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it with a passion.
But you do it every day?
Not
every day. You do it all the time. You do it all the time.
If I get inspiration, I write.
There you go.
And I can say that's one thing that keeps me happy when I'm able to create something. Writing in my head is like drawing, sketching something, what I'm feeling.
Exactly.
It's a way of putting my thoughts on paper.
If I may interrupt you there, that last thing you said, it's what makes me happy. You're talking about the results, what writing does to you. That's the fulfillment I was talking about here. Okay.
Yeah.
That eventually it's something you're doing it repetitively, but because it ends with fulfillment, and that fulfillment could be because, like you say, it makes you happy. It could be because it makes you feel like getting closer to your dream, whatever that dream might be. it may be, maybe it's aligned to your values. It may not have nothing to do with the dream, but it may have something to do with your values. So it resonates with your values, and therefore it brings fulfillment to you. For instance, with giving, some people find it so joyful when they give. Even the scriptures say, give joyfully. Why? Because when you do it that way, chances are you will keep doing it because you're getting fulfillment out of what you're doing. It's the more effective way of giving. But if you're giving with like, oh, this is painful, chances are you'll do it once and not do it for another year. It's not very effective, is it? So fulfillment is key if you want to get lasting success in whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I think the question, that's how you answer the question of whether repetition is boring or not. It comes down to what results are you getting out of what you're doing. So coming back to what I said earlier, if you're going to work and you find your work boring, don't get me wrong. I mean, most jobs in the world are repetitive, and they are like that by design. The reason most jobs are repetitive, and that's why when before you start work, you're given a job description, and usually, correct me if I'm wrong, I've never seen someone's job description being longer than one page, ever in my life. Never. Even a director's job description, I've never seen a job description longer than a page. Someone might have a CV 10 pages long, but job description. Why is that? Because what you're going to be doing, in any particular job, chances are it's going to be exactly the same thing
every day
out. Even a director, he comes in, he kind of does the same thing every day. He comes in, he gets the summary from personal assistant of what had been happening. He sits down for meetings. He sees his assistant, and then he sees the director of finance, and then he sees the operations for whatever. And then after that, he goes on to a Zoom meeting with the board of whatever. And then the next day it's repeat. He does exactly the same thing, and the same thing the third, and the same. Everybody keeps doing the same thing. Why? Because that's how we operate at our best. The business world understands. If you want someone to be most productive, get him to do the same thing every day. Why? Because that person will master that thing. How many? Have you ever heard of this? Of someone saying smearing his superior or his supervisor, saying, "Oh, this supervisor is on my case. This supervisor keeps telling me to do this, that, and the other. But I can do this better than the supervisor." Of course you can. Of course you can. Why? Because that's your job. That's what you're trained to do. You've been doing that day in, day out. Your supervisor has a completely different job, and his job day in, day out is to make sure that you do your job. So the question of that, why am I not the supervisor? Because I can do my job better than the supervisor. No, it doesn't work like that. The whole of production system, the whole of global economy, the whole of business world is organized and is underpinned by this principle of repetition. Get someone to do something, the same thing consistently all the time, and they will get better at it. Okay.
Yeah.
And if an employee feels that his work is boring, coming back to issue of fulfillment, it's because they're not getting fulfilled. Why are they not getting fulfilled? Now, that can be either it's not aligned with their values, they're doing a job that they feel like it's not ethically viable according to their convictions, probably. It could be because they're not fulfilled because they're not feeling that they're making a difference, and that could be their own fault, or it could be the fact that they're not getting the right feedback from their colleagues and superiors, and therefore they don't get the fulfillment. It could be that their productivity is very low for whatever reason. Maybe the work structure, the work arrangement, the systems are not very clear, and therefore they're not getting the results that they were hoping to get. It could be that the job description is not very clear. There could be reasons, but what makes it boring, it is not the repetition, because everybody goes through that. It is the fact that they are not getting the results that are fulfilling to you. Okay? Yeah?
Yeah.
Any other thought before I continue with the presentation?
Yeah. Sometimes, when a job is not challenging enough, it becomes bored. It's not challenging. Yeah.
There you go. Because to some people, the challenge is what fuels them.
Yes.
It's what they're looking for. To them, when they feel challenged and they feel like they rose up to the challenge,
yes,
that's how they get fulfilled.
Yeah.
Okay? But there are others who might say, might be the exact opposite. Some people might come to you and say, I find my work boring because it's too challenging.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
again, coming back to the same point, it is not the challenge, it is not the presence or absence of challenge that makes it boring or not. It is whether this person gets fulfillment at the end.
Fulfill, yeah, it's a fulfillment. Yeah.
Eventually, it comes down to fulfillment.
Yeah.
And once you look at things that way, it will really help you navigate this space in the sense that when you find yourself not really feeling what you're doing, let me use that word, not feeling what you're doing, then think of the element of fulfillment. Start thinking of, is what I'm doing aligned with my values? Is what I'm doing aligned with my vision and goals? Is what I'm doing making me happy at the end? Is it giving me the results that I want?
Yes.
And you would find that there is somewhere something isn't right in one of those three areas, and then it will be clearer for you what you need to do from there on. Okay?
Yeah.
Happy with that? Let me go back to my
Okay.
presentation, and then we'll see where we go from here. Right. So this is the question of spontaneity versus repetition. Which is better? People have been saying this a lot. I want something new. I want something fresh. I want something different. I mean, don't get me wrong. We all want that adrenaline rush, don't we? We all want that one thing you do and it gets your heart racing. And it's brilliant and it's refreshing. But I can tell you right now, it is transient. It is temporary and it's not going to get you results in the long run. Okay? Now, hear me. I'm not saying that there is no room or space for spontaneity. Spontaneity is very important because it refreshes you. Like I said, it brings that adrenaline rush. It makes you feel alive again because now you've got a new challenge. You have to do something new, something different. But if that's your life, hopping from one challenge, one adventure after another all your life, chances are you'll not be too successful anyway. Because you'll keep changing things. Everything will be new to you. You'll never really be effective. Last time I shared with you something called the success curve. I don't have the time to do it this way. But if you missed that one, go back to last session's video and watch that part about the success curve. That true success comes once you stick to something for long enough, because that's when success starts compounding. It starts very flat and you're taking too much time and energy to achieve peanuts. But as you keep at it and you continue, you get better at it, you become more efficient. If it's a business, you get more customers, you get more reviews, you start getting a bigger customer base, you start knowing your competition and your terrain better, you adjust to threats better. Before you know it, your results starts compounding and multiplying like that. So it's the same with this. When you're stuck to repetition, at first it looks tedious and the results are not that good, but as it becomes internalized, it becomes more of your second nature. It needs less effort and you become better at it and you get better results as a result. Okay. While if you're always spontaneous, always trying a new thing, you never master any of them. And yes, they bring you the vibe, they bring you the excitement. Every day you come in, every morning you're excited, like, oh, I'm doing something new today. But come at the end of the year, your effectiveness is not really that great because you kept changing things. You never really stuck at one thing, jack of all trades kind of thing. Okay. Right. So repetition leads to habits. Habits lead to results. Results leads to either fulfillment or unfulfillment, as we've seen before. Okay. So life becomes boring when we stick to repetitions that give us unfulfilling results. Okay. That's what I said before. Eventually, it comes down to whether your results are fulfilling or not fulfilling. Okay. And that's will determine whether what you're doing is boring or not boring. Okay. And I'll give you this one example and then we'll crack on. I tend to occasionally play Monopoly. I love playing Monopoly with my kids. And usually it goes like this. Monopoly can be a very exciting game or can be a very boring game. Okay? Because literally all you do is keep throwing these dices and keep moving these pieces around this board. Okay? And it's repetitive. You just keep doing that round and round and round and round and round. In the process, you are acquiring properties, you're acquiring wealth, you're buying things off people, you're taking things off people. But that's all you do. Throw these dices, move your piece around. Okay? Very repetitive. But usually what tends to happen at the beginning, everyone is excited, everyone is acquiring things, everyone is buying things, the game continues until it gets to a stage where some people have accumulated so many properties. If you don't know Monopoly, you might not quite understand this example, but if you do, you might get where I'm going with this. And what tends to happen, say an hour in, you've played for an hour, nowhere near the end of the game, and one person has got properties all over the place, you know, in all the important places, you know, Mayfair, you know, Oxford, you know, Regent Street, you know, all those places, has got all the train stations and all that and everything. And other people haven't got many properties and or many, you know, real estate, and they have to pay them every time they land on their places. And what tends to happen is those that don't have much, they start finding the game boring because it's so repetitive. It's like, we've been playing this for an hour, you know, and we need to end this. We need to do something else. And guess the person who has all these properties, guess what they're saying? Like, no, we need to finish this game. We need to continue. They're all doing the same thing. They're all doing exactly the same action. But one person is saying, we got to finish this game because he's getting so much kick out of it, so much fulfillment out of the properties, the real estate, all the money he's getting from these guys, you know, that they need to pay every time they land on their places. While the other person is like, nah, this is not fulfilling, you know, because it's every step is painful. You know what I mean? And it's not fulfilling, and therefore the repetition is boring. So that shows that your results, the fulfillment is key, you know, and you need to focus on what you're getting out of what you're doing, because that will determine your success, and that will determine how well you do what you do. Because if you don't focus on that and you say like, I'll just keep doing what I'm doing, if you're not getting fulfillment, chances are you'll do it in mediocrity, and it won't really amount to much. So fulfillment is when results are aligned with your values, I said this before, and dreams or goals, okay? So lasting remedy for boredom is not spontaneity, but adoption of fulfilling repetitions, okay? If you want to get lasting results, if you're feeling bored, the answer to your boredom is not spontaneity, is not you going on a limb and do something off the cuff. Yes, if you do that, you'll get that temporary rush and you'll feel great, but only for a moment. And then very quickly you will return back to where you were. I mean, it's the same thing with people who go into drugs or go into addiction and things like that, because it starts as a kick. It starts as something spontaneous, something you want, that adrenaline rush. I'm doing this, something, I know it's wrong. I know it's dangerous. I know I shouldn't be doing this, but it gives me this kick. It gives me this rush, and it makes me forget all my troubles. But usually they do that, but once that vibe goes, they're right back to where they started, and they realize their problems have not gone away, and they end up in a worse state than they were before. So the answer to boredom is not spontaneity. It's actually adoption of fulfilling repetition. So again, rather than trying to fight with your boredom, look at your values, look at your goals, what you want to achieve, and try and create habits that will bring fulfillment to you. And that is the way that you can get out of boredom and march towards your success. Okay? Final thing, benefits of repetition. Now, before I start this, does anybody have anything to say? Any comments? Anything to share before I go to this?
Yeah.
Go for it, Grace.
What you just said is very true, because I have started some jobs, and I've, started with all the intention and enthusiasm, and then stop, uncompleted. So, what you are saying, I agree. Yeah,
absolutely.
If a few jobs in the house I've started, not completed, because the whatever is gone.
Yeah,
so if I do it slowly, as you say, and look at the goal and then the enjoyment and the fulfillment.
Absolutely. I'm a personal development coach. I do coaching as well, and usually that's where I focus the most. It's like, why do you want to do what you do? Someone comes to me and says, "Oh, I want to lose weight." My first question would be, why do you want to lose weight? I mean, it sounds daft. It sounds very, it's very obvious, but I still want that person to focus on why they're doing what they're doing. And because the why question is extremely important, because that will determine what will be fulfilling to you. And another question would be like, what's your long-term goal? Okay, because okay, you're doing exercises today, but let's say where would you want your health to be 10 years from now? Because this person needs to hone in on that and be very clear on that, because that is what will bring fulfillment to that person when he starts seeing the pounds going down on the scale. You know what I mean? Or when they go out for a run and they come back, they feel so good because they have that thing that gives them fulfillment. They have a very clear set of values that they're trying to achieve, very clear set of goals, a very clear sense of vision. Okay, so sometimes that's what it is. Like what you said, Grace. You might be doing something and you really don't see the point, and it's like, this is boring. I'm not going to do it. But once it's very clear why you're doing it and what you will get out of it, and that's when fulfillment starts coming in. And you do something, however little, and you start appreciating it, not so much for what it is, but for what it might become, the bigger picture. Okay, and then that drives you more, and your repetitions don't become boring anymore. Anybody else wants to come in? Emeka?
I want to. I just wanted to add, like, going back in terms of fulfillment. When you mentioned the thing that's really struck a chord is mainly when you mentioned the issue of why do you want to lose weight, the issue of weight. Some people might do it for good reasons, while some for other reasons. Because let's face it, everything now in this day and age is all down to body image. Sorry to go out of bound here. Like in the issue of Hollywood, you have to look a certain way, make it big.
Yeah.
If you are regarded as too fat, there's the issue of body shaming. There's that pressure that you have to look good by losing weight.
Yeah.
So in terms of when it comes down to weight issue, it's a very sensitive issue, especially in this our day and age.
Yeah.
Some people genuinely want to do it just for fulfillment, but there are some due to like has to do with like internal issues, like like a trauma or something, insecurity issue. So I just feel it's a double-edged sword. If you really look deeper.
It is. I agree with you. But whichever way you look at it, whether someone's intention is to look glamorous, whether someone's aim is image and looking good, a six-pack, and they can take off their shirts and go swimming out in the summer and really show off their hard-earned work from the gym, or whether someone's concern is health and they just want to keep healthy for the rest of their lives. Irrespective of why, if that reason is strong enough, if that indeed is your goal, right, it will still give you fulfillment. Now that fulfillment may be transient in some instances. For instance, if all you're concerned about is your body image, then that might lead to other problems, because that, like you said, it might lead to insecurities. And might be unhealthy for that matter.
And then there's that embody, and sorry, there's that embody there's this psychology thing called body dysmorphia or something.
Yeah, the body dysmorphic disorder or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Or body dysmorphia. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But the thing is, even those people are very effective in getting their results. And that's why you end up with people with or people with eating disorders, someone with anorexia nervosa, very effective. Why? Because though the reason is very pathological, but it's consistent. It's pathologically consistent in a sense that they are so upset. No, hear me out.
Oh, sorry.
Hear me out. What I'm trying to say. What I'm saying is, because they are so focused on their body image, however wrong that is, okay, because they're so focused on that, they are so consistent in what it is they're trying to do, whether that is them not eating in the case of anorexia nervosa, or whether it's them spending 6 hours in the gym every day, trying to lose weight while they are actually already skinny. You're getting what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
The reason may be wrong, but the principle would still apply regardless. Okay, so the issue here is not whether the reason is good enough or not. The point I'm trying to make here is that yes, in some cases it may be a problem, and I get it. But whatever it is you want to achieve, I just tend to give the example of losing weight of quite often. I don't know why. But the point is, you have to focus on your why. And I'm not here challenging anybody that maybe your why is not good enough. No, whatsoever your why is, whatever your reason is, whether that you just want to look good, you want to feel good, you want to impress your wife or your girlfriend, you want to, whatever that reason, whether you want to do it for health. If you ask me, I think doing it for health is the best reason. But whatever the reason may be, okay? If you focus on that reason and make sure that that is what brings you fulfillment, and you start getting that fulfillment in what you're doing, chances are you will do it consistently.
Yeah.
If you don't, or for whatever reason you end up losing that focus for whatever reason, chances are you'll stop doing what you're doing, or you'll find what you're doing boring. You see what the distinction.
I see what you're trying to say. I'm sorry. I see what you're trying to say, but just that in terms of fulfillment, in terms of something that there's a reason for why. But what I won't like, I know like the issue of anorexics and everything, body image and all that. But what I won't really, but another one again is like the issue of going under the knife. If you know what I mean, Botox to look younger and all that. That's one I feel that's going a bit too far.
Yeah.
For your reason for why and all that. So, but then again, I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, but it comes down eventually. I don't want to really be to kind of really ignore everything and just focus on this one thing about losing weight, because that's not the point I was trying to make. That's not the point I was trying to make.
Sorry.
No. You don't need to apologize. It's absolutely fine. All I'm saying is that in anything, again, I always revert back to scripture. I love scripture. Anything in excess can be harmful. Okay. So when we talk of power of repetition, if whatever thing you think is good, if you end up doing it too much, it's not going to be good for you. I mean, even work. I mean, work is great, and I really encourage people to work as hard as they can, right? But if you're working too hard, you're working too much, it's not good for you. You need that balance. You need time with your family. You need time for yourself. You need time to recuperate for your body health. Okay, so anything in excess is bad. So the same can be said for losing weight. If you lose too much weight, you're in trouble. If that's all you're focusing. If you go to extremes in any direction, it's going to be a problem. So I don't want to focus on that. The point I'm trying to make here generally is that whatever it is you want to do, you need to have a good enough, a strong enough why you're doing it. And that is very personal. That is very individual. That is very much to do with your personal values. And it is that will give you the fulfillment when you're actually creating the habits around that thing. Yeah. What do others think? I don't want this to be just a two-way thing. What do others think? Do you want to come in as well? I see Stephen is really anxious to come in. What say you, brother?
Yeah. Hello everyone, and apology. I was on the road and I had problem with my device. My phone kept saying I need to download Zoom. I have Zoom already, so I realized space. Well, I don't know what happened, but I couldn't. I was trying to call Charles, but I think he was already, So yeah, apology. But I was following up. For me, what I want to say is I appreciate what Charles has shared, and he kept repeating on the weight loss. Which is for me is a good example because it's something that we can quantify. If you say example of some other goals of maybe Bentley or Rolls-Royce, they may not become too realistic on where we are. They are realistic, but from where you are, you can distance yourself from it, and you may not be able to grasp. But what I'm trying to say is on whatever things that Charles has been sharing, especially on like Gracie said, I start something and then after somehow that energy goes out. It's not like we say it's like when you open a Pepsi or a Coca-Cola, and then it goes down, goes flat.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, to me, my principal thing is, this is something that we need to grow, to grow into. It's not something that you go and need and then you want to apply and achieve. No, it's something that you deliberately need to plan and try to learn as we are, and put in practice. And actually, for me, you need to practice this on a thing that you don't need, right? So don't wait until, I'm overweight. Now I'm going to practice. No, it's not going to happen. You're going to lose your gas and you'll finish. So being like, okay, for example, Charles, He's as thin as he is now. He's okay. He doesn't need to lose weight, right? Doctor, your weight is ideal. Everything is okay. Now, he can pick up this, say, I want to lose the weight, not because I need it, no, because I want to practice this thing. So he say, I'm going to set up my target, kilos. That is good because there's no pressure. There's no that thing. Because when your doctor say you're overweight, you have an obligation to lose that weight. Now, when you try and your gas goes flat, you lose hope, and then you're done. You say this thing doesn't work, and you understand. But find something that you don't need.
Yeah.
Right? Something that you don't need. It's not something that you have an obligation, and try to practice to achieve that, you know, and then make that, you know, your way to land, because you have to grow into this thing. Charles is giving a good example of Lois losing weight and losing weight. It's good example because you see, it's to do with numbers. You know, you see, you know, after 1 week, you step on a scale, you can see either you're losing or you're not winning. You know, because other goals, you say, oh, you give them two, you know, like 1 year.
Yeah.
You give them a little bit of some time to hide in the bush because you may not be achieving something, but because this is 1 year, it's too long. Then, you know, but with weight is good because you can quantify this after every 2 weeks and check, hey, Mr. Emeka, are you gaining or losing? You know, yeah. So for me, it's a process.
Yeah.
It's a process. So if you're setting up goals and then you don't achieve because you need that goal, and so don't practice this on the thing that you need.
Yeah.
Practice this thing on the thing that you don't need.
Yeah.
And then try and then try and then practice. So that's my way. Thank you very much. I don't want to talk too much.
Yeah.
What Stephen just said there, I don't know whether you guys got it. That is probably the most fundamental formula or fundamental principle in personal development.
Yeah.
Never operate from the point of desperation. You know, what do we normally say, Steve? Desperation and inspiration, isn't it? Yeah. You've got desperation on one end, you've got inspiration on the other. Yeah. So desperation is when you're running away from pain. Yeah. Inspiration is when you are running towards pleasure. Yeah. You see the difference? You may all be going in the same direction. You know, pain is what is this way, pleasure is that way. But one person is running away from pain, the other person is running towards pleasure. Yes. Now, if you want to be successful in life, always aim to run towards pleasure than running away from pain. If that makes sense.
Yes. Charles, can I? Go on. Well, in relation to what Stephen said, that's why I'm laughing. It just reminded me of something.
Yeah.
It's not what you see, it's how you see it.
Absolutely.
The issue of losing weight. I know, yes, Charles said don't be too desperate. But words have a way of hurt. Words have a way of uplifting and damaging somebody's confidence.
Yeah.
Being reminded constantly, you need to lose a couple of pounds constantly. It's almost like you're not good enough. So I just feel like it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yeah. Okay. And also, can I add to what Stephen just said? So, Stephen, you say we shouldn't operate under pressure. We should develop the lifestyle. That's what you are trying to say.
Yeah, well, to make it clear, let me repeat actually.
Yeah.
You see, we don't need to operate under desperation because you see, there is in life, you can approach something into either aspiration or desperation.
Yeah.
Now, if you go today and see your doctor, and the doctor say, Grace, I think, you know, we are overweight, you know, this is not acceptable. You got 10 kilos to lose. Yeah. Now, from that moment, the desperation thing goes on your brain.
Yeah.
Right? Because you have an obligation to lose the weight.
Yeah.
Right? So you're going to put up a regime and say, I'm going to be running 3 times a week. Now you try first week, good. Second week, good. Third week, you fail. Fourth week, you fail. Fifth week, you fail. Yeah. Then you go to the GP, say, how are you doing? You say, well, now some people lose hope and say, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to eat more and die faster. And then, but what we're trying to say is, if you have learned this art or a skill, you know, prior to you seeing the doctor, and you achieve this, whatever thing you practice, you know, first thing, the second thing, the third thing, you achieved all this. Now, when the doctor says you need to lose weight, I'm not having an issue because I already done it. So I'm just gonna plug whatever I need into the formula, which I already have.
Yeah.
Right? So for example, before you went to see the doctor, you were always running 3 times a week, right? When you see the doctor, you're not gonna do something new. You already have something already. So you keep running 3 times a week, which is already fundamental thing. You adjust some few things, like maybe you diet a little bit, this one a little bit, that. So you see, so you're adding up. But if you didn't create the habit, if you didn't create the formula, you don't have, you got nothing to operate. But if I have a formula already, I just plug in the values into the formula, which I have already, which is the right habit. So, for example, I'm not a writer. Writing books is not my real inspiration, but I can set up a challenge for myself. Stephen, write a book. I have no pressure. But for Omeka, that will be a pressure because to him, that's the lifetime thing. So writing a book, if he fails, he's going to beat himself. For me, I won't beat myself because writing a book is an option.
I got it. I got that.
So means that if I will set up writing a book in 6 months and I achieve this, I've learned some skill. So when it comes to something I really need, like speaking, motivation, and I see a coach, I went to Charles, and Charles says, Stephen, oh, you want to be a speaker? Okay, you're gonna do A, B, C. Now I'm gonna look into my book writing skills. What skill did I learn? I was consistent. Every day I woke up 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, writing one chapter. Every day, 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock, one chapter. So if Charles tells me, if you wanna be a speaker, you're gonna make sure every day you speak for an hour. What do? I already have a habit of waking up 5 to 6. This time, I'm not going to write a chapter of a book. I'm going to practice my speaking. You understand what I mean? I have already a formula. I just plug in the value of what I want to achieve. So let me not talk too much because time is.
This is what this conversation is all about, Steve. This is what this conversation is all about.
I did get you, Stephen.
So that's what I was trying to say. If you create, see, like what I was saying, you play this game and it's a game, but sometimes you can get some value and practice this on real life. You know, like every time you're winning, life is good. But every time when you're losing, oh, this is boring, this doesn't work. That's not what it is. Do you understand? People run into, oh, you know, if you become a consultant, it pays. I'm a speaker, it pays. If everything pays. There's some people who are winning and some people are losing. You understand? In the same Premier League, you got someone who's on the top and someone in the bottom, but they are still on Premiership. So it's not about what pays and what doesn't pay. No. Whichever you do pays. If you do what you need to do. You understand? Whichever field you choose to do, there's some people who are winning and some people who are losing on the very same thing. So let me
Grace, you wanted to say something? Go on.
Well, I've got it, Stephen, you know, in the first place, but I was trying to put it in other words, like pressure and lifestyle. Because what we've been saying all along, it's
lifestyle.
That should be a habit. We shouldn't wait till there's a problem before we do that. I got it in the first place.
Amazing.
I like the explanation too. More the merrier. Thank you.
Do you remember the quote I shared with you earlier? That it's until the habits change.
Yes.
Okay. That you truly change, not just actions.
Yes.
I think it ties up really well with this. You cannot consider yourself really changed unless your habits have changed, not the actions, because the actions can change, but actions are transient. They follow the elastic behavior. You can do something different for a couple of days. But then go back to what you were before. So you haven't really changed. But once the habits have changed, which is what Stephen was saying, if your lifestyle changes, if you run because you're a runner, you're not running because you need to cut down weight. You're not running because you're trying to look good. If your original reason might have been to cut down weight, your original reason might have been to look good. And that's why I said let's not be hung over too much on why you're doing it. But as long as it's become a habit eventually, it really doesn't matter. I mean, if I ask my son, why are you brushing your teeth? Okay. Maybe my 8-year-old son is old enough, and maybe at school they know and they've been taught and they know why they're brushing their teeth. Oh, my gum and this, my health. It might give a very good reason, very good academic reason, right? But if you ask a 5-year-old, why are you brushing your teeth? chances that they might say is like that. That's what I've been doing since I was born. Oh, that's what I see everybody doing. It's become something they do.
Yes.
Because that's just them. It becomes the habit. Okay. But does it do them a bundle of good? It does. And that's what I mean. That sometimes when we're trying to institute change in our lives in whatever that area may be, okay, anywhere, aim should be at changing the habits and ensuring that we become the change that we want to see. Okay. So that was the point. I'll tell you what, guys. I was planning to go back to the slides and talk about the benefits of repetition, but there is absolutely no point. You know, we've had a fantastic conversation, and rather than rushing back to that, we might as well continue with that conversation in our next session. So I just want to allow a few more insights into what we've been talking so far, because we've had such a fantastic and a very rich discussion. So I want to hear from a bit more from a few of you guys before we call it an evening. So what are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, very good. I like very good. I think I've changed from hearing, I'm a different woman now. So thank you so much.
Glad to hear it, Grace. Glad to hear it.